Somehow the Mets figured out a way to pull off a slow, burning death. It was not a collapse. I don't want to hear anybody call it a collapse. 2007, that was a collapse. '08, '09, collapses. What the Tigers did, that was a collapse this season. What the Mets just pulled off was a slow death. That's what it was. Because at one point in mid-June, they were the best team in baseball. 21 games over 500. A pitching staff that was electric. And then that pitching staff just completely fell off the rails. And I expected the Mets pitching, when it was dominating early on in the year, to kind of slow down and come back to earth. But I did not expect David Peterson to fall apart. I did not expect Sean Manaea to come out in the second half and just crap the bed. I didn't even expect Frankie Montas to pitch as bad as he did. And I'm foolish for that because Frankie Montas absolutely sucked this year. Kodai Senga completely fell apart after he came off the IL. I mean, it was mainly pitching, but it was also the offense, this lackluster offense. This team was built to bludgeon other teams. That's what they were built to do. That's what Juan Soto was brought here to do. That's what Pete Alonso was brought back for the 2025 season to do. They were built to bludgeon offenses. And I think the biggest reason that this offense didn't really ever come to light this year was not only the runners in scoring position. I mean, their batting average with runners in scoring position was damn near 100 in the first half. But I think the biggest reason this offense sucked was because of Mark Vientos. And I'm going to have a long talk about Mark Vientos later on in this podcast. Thank you for joining, by the way. But yeah, Mark Vientos had a complete down season, and I don't think he will be a New York Met next season, but I'm going to talk more on that a little bit later. But, we're going to start off with the Mets, going to hop into the Yankees. They almost won the division, but at least they're in. At least they're in. And that's one thing you got to give Yankee fan credits for. Yes, we signed Juan Soto in the offseason. The Mets stole him from the Yankees. But for the fans that were calling the Yankees little brother out of the gate just for signing Juan Soto are dumb. I've said it from the jump. I don't even think the Mets and Yankees are brothers. We hate each other. That's not a brother. I like my brother. I don't dislike him. If I disliked him, that's that one thing. But we're not brothers. If anything, we're cousins, Mets and Yankee fans. So I hated that. Oh, you're a little brother. No, you're a little brother. Listen, the Yankees run New York right now until they don't. That's just a fact. The Yankees run New York right now. Last year, the Mets almost ran New York, but the Yankees made it a little bit further. Were the Mets 2 wins away? Did they sign Juan Soto in the offseason? Yes. Did it look up right from 2025, the jump mid-June? Did it only look up? Yes. But the Mets fell apart. The Yankees fell apart too mid-year, but they rebounded. That's the difference. That's why the Yankees run this town right now, and I'm saying that as a Met fan, as a diehard Met fan. We're also going to touch on the Jets, who continue to be winless, which is just frustrating. Mets missed out on the postseason yesterday when they had it right in front of them, as Aaron Boone and Carlos Mendoza constantly said all year long. It's right in front of us. It's right in front of us. Well, it was right in front of both teams. Yankees took it. Mets did not. So frustrating, man. So freaking frustrating. And then my Jets continue to suck. I mean, outside of Garrett Wilson, I hate everybody on this team right now. I hate everybody. What's fun about the Jets? What is fun about this team? Week 1 was fun, but it still sucked that we lost. I wish we won, because now we're sitting here 0-4. 0-4. I mean, we're losing 1-score games, so I guess that's the bright side. First year of a head coach, but we're going to touch more on the Jets later. And then the Giants, Jackson Dart. He didn't look elite. He didn't look phenomenal, but he did just enough to get the Giants to win. And he looked good. He didn't look bad. And that's what you want out of a rookie quarterback. You don't want him to look bad. You don't need him to look elite. You just need him to not look bad and give them some hope. But let's touch on the Mets. I really want to touch on these Mets because complete polar opposite of last year's team. I mean, what was it? 0-67. when they're down in the 8th inning. Like, that's terrible. That's not a playoff team. Playoff teams at least get one. They at least, not just one, they get more than one. That team was not a playoff team this year. They were not. They were a bad team since June. I mean, realistically, we could see this coming. Every Met fan felt the same way, and I know it. We all had that hope of, if we get in, maybe we can make something happen in the playoffs. And I had that hope too, but we all knew the reality. And the reality is that this team just was not good. It was a fluke what they did in the first half. I mean, they proved it. They played the majority of the season as a sub 500 baseball team. That is not a recipe for success. As great as they were in the first half, as great as that pitching was in the first half, they were not a good team. It was a fluke. I mean, realistically, they had the number 1 ERA in baseball up until June. Up until June, this pitching staff was dominant. And it was guys like Griffin Cannon, guys like Clay Holmes, and Clay Holmes had a great year, by the way. Guys like, Tyler McGill coming out of nowhere. Kodai Senga being a top 3 guy in ERA in the first half. Had a sub 2 ERA in the first half. And in the second half, Sean Manaea comes back and we think we're going to get a jolt. And for a week in June, it really did feel like it because Sean Manaea came back. He pitched well in his first appearance back. Kodai Senga was still pitching well. Clay Holmes, he went through a little bit of a rough patch, but overall he was pitching good. Griffin Cannon then tore his Achilles. Kodai Senga tears his hamstring. Sean Manaea just completely folds. David Peterson was an all-star in the first half and just fell apart. And it was definitely due to fatigue. And I want to touch on David Peterson a little bit later because I do want him back in the rotation in 2026, even though he fell apart completely. But, I mean, you'd got to be a fool to expect all that to just continue in the first half. Got to be a fool. I mean, Griffin Cannon looked like one of the best pitchers in baseball. And we're talking about Griffin Cannon. Tyler McGill was striking out almost everybody. That's Tyler McGill. That's called luck. The Mets didn't get bad luck because they missed the postseason. They got good luck in the first half, and then they played who they were in the second half, and that's just a miserable ball club. A very top-heavy ball club. I mean, let's go over the years that people had individually. Francisco Lindor, 31 homers, 31 stolen bases, over an 800 OPS. Hitting the high 260s. Like, that's a great year from Lindor. Juan Soto, over a 920 OPS. Led the National League with 38 stolen bases. Set a career high with 43 homers. Drove in over 100 runs. He had a great first year. But it wasn't good enough. Because let's be real, Juan Soto in the first half is a big part of why the Mets missed the playoffs. Because if Juan Soto was the real Juan Soto in the first half, if he hit with runners in scoring position in the first half, the Mets would get an extra game or two in their record-wise, and they'd be in the playoffs right now. Now, all the blame doesn't go to Juan Soto. I mean, let's be real. Maybe like 2-3% of the blame goes to Juan Soto, but Juan Soto still deserves a little bit of the blame. I would say the only 2 people I don't blame for this completely disastrous season is Pete Alonso and Edwin Diaz, and it just so happens to be that those 2 are going to be free agents. And if the Mets do not re-sign those guys, I mean, I love David Stearns. I'm a big defender of David Stearns. But he had a terrible, terrible offseason. He had a terrible, terrible trade deadline. And if he caps off what he did in 2025 by not bringing back Pete Alonso, who every year, he's played in the league for 7 years. He had 6 full seasons. Because obviously 2020, shortened year. But in those 6 full seasons, he's hit at least 34 home runs. He's driven in over 100 RBIs 5 times. Like, the guy is just a run producer. He's had over an 800 OPS with runners in scoring position every year but one, and that was last year in 2024. 1 year. He was not clutch in the regular season. What did he do in the postseason? He saved the Mets' asses. He saved their ass. And quite frankly, Pete Alonso, I know the WAR might not suggest it. I got in an argument with somebody about WAR. Oh, Pete Alonso's WAR isn't great. We shouldn't bring him back. Dude, if you just watch the games, how many games did Pete Alonso win the Mets this year? A lot. If Pete Alonso wasn't on the Mets this year, they'd be a sub 500 team, and the same is said for Edwin Diaz. So let's start off with Pete Alonso and Edwin Diaz. Because we all know what the bad was about this team. It was the pitching. It was the offense with runners in scoring position. It was not beating good teams. It was consistently playing to the level of whoever they faced. Because they beat the San Diego Padres. They swept the Philadelphia Phillies. They had a 7-6 record against the Philadelphia Phillies and a 7-6 record against the Washington Nationals. They played to the level of their opponent all year long, and I think that was the main problem with the Mets. They played up to good teams, and they played down to terrible teams, and they consistently lost to terrible teams in the second half. I mean, realistically, there's so many games that you can pinpoint to and say, that one, that one, that one, that one, that one. But just in the last 2 weeks, man, the Washington Nationals, the Miami Marlins losing those 2 series, that's the reason. The Texas Rangers, I mean, those are the reasons. So let's touch on David Stearns, Pete Alonso, and Edwin Diaz. Starting off with David Stearns, because this is why he needs to bring back Pete Alonso and Edwin Diaz. And I hear a lot of people talking about the core needs to be broken up. Core needs to be broken up. The core is rotten. Pete Alonso is loved in that clubhouse. He was wearing Francisco Lindor's eye black. Evan Roberts said he was wearing Juan Soto's cup as a joke, but who knows? He might have. I mean, the guy is beloved in that clubhouse. So when you have a guy who consistently has over an 850 OPS, consistently drives in over 112, 115 runs, when you have a guy that consistently hits 34, 35, 38 bombs this year, 40 bombs, 42 bombs, you don't let that man walk, especially when he's beloved by the fan base so much, especially with his postseason success. Because he's a great hitter in the postseason. I know he's only been in the playoffs twice, but in 2022, he was one of the only Mets to hit that in that wild card round. He saved them in the wild card round just last year. He performed in the NLCS and the NLDS. So Pete Alonso is clutch. I don't care what anybody says. He needs to come back. Edwin Diaz, same thing. I mean, he's probably the most clutch player on this team. I mean, the amount of times that guy came into a game and you felt like, we're good, this game is locked down now. All the time. I mean, my favorite moment from Edwin Diaz this year was against the Philadelphia Phillies in that sweep. When he came in and he got the last 5 outs. And he just mowed him down. Mowed him down. So those two undoubtedly need to come back. We're going to touch on that a little bit more. You can actually check out my article, lockerroomsportsmedia.com, if you want to read why I think it in words, in written words at least. But David Stearns, I mean, this is why he needs to bring them back. Because going back to the offseason, do we really think David Stearns is the reason Juan Soto is here? Let's be real, guys. Did he play a part of it? Of course, he was the president of baseball operations. But realistically, it was Steve Cohen's money. That's the reason Juan Soto is here. It's not because of David Stearns pitching to him the future, the outlook of the farm system, who's going to be here soon. No, it was Steve Cohen's money that brought Juan Soto here. Steve Cohen's money also probably got Pete Alonso here. Because Pete Alonso and David Stearns were going back and forth, not negotiating well. And I know it was Cohen who also hated Scott Boras in the offseason. But it took Pete Alonso and Steve Cohen to sit down and hash it out. And then Pete Alonso magically signs. It wasn't David Stearns. David Stearns was Frankie Montas. David Stearns traded for Jose Siri in the offseason, who got DFA'd, over re-signing Harrison Bader. Like, we already had Tyrone Taylor. We already had a great defensive center fielder who is a subpar bat. Why bring in an even worse defender in Jose Siri? Because I don't care what the defensive metrics said coming into this year. He was a terrible defender in center field this year. I don't care how fast he is, how much range he has. He was a terrible defender. He actually lost us games with his defense in center field, which is what he was brought here to do, play defense, right? But you already had a great defender in Tyrone Taylor, who's a subpar right-handed bat. Why bring in an even worse bat who strikes out 10 times more? And he adds nothing of value Jose Siri brings. Even my dad's chips, yes, I counted 25 games the Mets choked away, and Jose Siri was a reason for few of them. So you were completely right. Completely right. They played tight all year, and that is true. Like I said before, I mean, they played to the level of their opponents. Sometimes they played up to great opponents, like they beat the Detroit Tigers in a series. The San Diego Padres swept the Philadelphia Phillies, but they constantly folded against these bad teams, especially in the second half. It was terrible. And a lot of that, I want to say, is also David Stern's fault because it was a lot of David Stern's guys. Jose Siri. I cannot believe that we did not re-sign Harrison Bader over, like you traded for Jose Siri, who's a 100 career hitter. He hits in the 100s. He hit less than 100 this year. I think his final batting average to finish the year was 0.63. That is outright terrible. Terrible. Oh my, that was terrible, terrible move. I mean, Frankie Montas, and even when he went down, he had a chance at redemption. Jose Quintana was sitting right there, and Jose Quintana had a great year for the Milwaukee Brewers. He provided them innings. Was he, a top-level arm? No, but I think a lot of Mets fans would have loved to have Jose Quintana on this team, who pitched to a sub-4 ERA and went out there and made over 20 starts, especially over Frankie Montas, who came out here and was a complete dud. After 3-4 starts, he lost his rotation spot. And I hate rooting for injury. But it's almost like a favor that he has to get Tommy John surgery because we don't have to see him ever again. And I hate saying that, but it's true. And I know a lot of fans feel that way. And it sucks, but it's true. So Frankie Montas, Jose Siri, and then you fast forward to the trade deadline. I mean, Brooks Raley, before we get into the trade deadline, Brooks Raley, got to give him credit, great signing. But there was also David Robertson sitting right there, who's now pitching in the playoffs with the Philadelphia Phillies. And I don't understand why. I had this argument with also some people, but if you sign David Robertson, then you don't go out there and make the move for a Tyler Rogers or a Ryan Helsley. And at the time, Ryan Helsley, I'm not going to call that a bad move by David Stearns because Ryan Helsley had the most saves in baseball last year. He was pitching to a 3 ERA, and he was pitching really well for the Cardinals. So I can't fault him for trying to bolster this bullpen for Ryan Helsley, who also had 7 scoreless innings to finish the year. I liked the move. I did. So I'm not going to fault him on Ryan Helsley or Tyler Rogers. But you still could have signed David Robertson and brought in those 2 guys. You could have done that. And then you have 4 guys at the time who were reliable in Raley, Robertson, Rogers, and obviously Edwin Diaz. And then Helsley doesn't work. Well, at least you got a 3-man setup crew with David Robertson, Brooks Raley, and Edwin Diaz. Tyler Rogers, I think he was just managed poorly. Carlos Mendoza brought Tyler Rogers in a ton of times with runners on base, and he's not a pitcher. He's not a strikeout pitcher. He lets up a lot of contact. He's a pitch-to-contact guy. So he needs to come in at the start of an inning or with no runners on base. I mean, Ryan Stanek had the most appearances this year, which is just completely idiotic. The fact that he wasn't DFA'd. I mean, Chris Davinsky. I'd rather have Chris Davinsky pitch over Ryan Stanek. At least he gave you something. Stanek over and over and over just completely fell apart. Completely. So you had not signing David Robertson. You had trading for Jose Siri over signing Harrison Bader again. Fast forward to the trade deadline. Gregory Soto, I did not like that addition. He was pitching to a 4 ERA with the Baltimore Orioles. It just wasn't a good addition. Helsley, Rogers, yes, good additions. Cedric Mullins. Why? Again, why are we trading? It's like he doubled down on that Jose Siri move. Okay, Jose Siri's injured. Let's sign another subpar defender in center field just because we need a center field bat. Because Tyrone Taylor ain't cutting it. And then when Tyrone Taylor went down, we were all begging for Tyrone Taylor to come back. I mean, he had to use Jeff McNeil in center field at some points this year. And we'll get into McNeil later too. But at the time Jeff McNeil was hitting, you had to use him in center field because Cedric Mullins was terrible. It was terrible. At one point, I think he was like 2 for 20 with the Mets. He was terrible. And you had Harrison Bader, who was having a phenomenal year with the Minnesota Twins, and then obviously traded to the Philadelphia Phillies and just scorched the Mets. Scorched the Mets all year long. And let's go over Harrison Bader's numbers. Harrison Bader had a Fantastic year. And I guarantee you, if the Mets traded for Harrison Bader over trading for freaking Cedric Mullins, they might just be in the playoffs right now. Harrison Bader finished this year with 145 games played, hit 277, 17 home runs, 796 OPS. Specifically, after the trade deadline, with the Phillies, hit 305, had an OPS of 824 in 50 games. Like, that guy was sitting right there, and he knows the clubhouse. Knows the clubhouse, too, because he was just with them last year, and I know he didn't play amazing last year at all, but everybody would rather have Harrison Bader over Cedric Mullins. Let's go over Cedric Mullins' lines this year. Cedric Mullins compared to Harrison Bader, 692 OPS, 217 batting average. Had the same amount of home runs, 17 home runs, but he hit 2 with the Mets and 15 with the Orioles. Had a 556 OPS with the Mets, a 182 batting average, a 284 on-base percentage, which is just absolutely terrible. Terrible year for David Stearns. Do I want him fired? No. I want to give him at least 2-3 more years, 100%. I mean, we have a great farm system. The development of Nolan McLean, even Brandon Sproat, who looked good this year too. I think he's a big league pitcher. But you also got to blame him for some of these pitching moves. You could have gotten a starter at the deadline. I know there's a lot of people, even a lot of podcasters out there, reputable guys, who will say, well, who would you want to get? Who would you want to get at that trade deadline? Anybody, because the Mets desperately needed pitching. You already folded by not signing Jose Quintana over Frankie Montas after Quintana had a great year and made nothing this year to pitch great with the Brewers. Man, tough year. And then they had to rely on that young pitching. And Nolan McLean was ready, and I am so pumped that we have Nolan McLean. His future is very bright. Brandon Sproat and Jonah Tong, same thing. But Jonah Tong clearly wasn't ready. And that's on Stearns. He's 22 years old. He had 2 reliable pitches. 2. And he's 22. That's on Stearns. The fact that we had to count on a 22-year-old Jonah Tong made me sick. Because when he got rocked, I got pissed. A lot of fans probably got pissed. And not specifically at Jonah Tong, just about the fact that we have to rely on this young kid, this 22-year-old kid, way too early. I mean, let's be real. He's probably not even going to be in the big league rotation on opening day. And he shouldn't be. He's just not ready. He has a bright future. I think he can be a huge cornerstone piece in the rotation going forward, but not right now, not at the start of 2026. A lot of bad moves, bad mistakes by David Stearns this year. Very top-heavy team. I mean, if I'm going over player grades, I'm giving Pete Alonso an A-. I'm giving Edwin Diaz an A+, because he had a fantastic year. Definitely the team MVP this year. Juan Soto, probably a B+. Lindor, probably a B+. And for the people who want Brandon Nimmo gone, I mean, who do you want to replace Brandon Nimmo with? I mean, Brandon Nimmo, did he have a fantastic year? No, but I mean, the guy hit 25 home runs. Find me another left fielder better than Brandon Nimmo that's not, elite level all-star. That's not like a Christian Yelich. Please, find me one. Because Brandon Nimmo had a good year. He had a 762 OPS, which isn't great, but I know he's getting paid a lot of money, but we don't take a 762 OPS. He drove in 92 runs. He had 27 doubles, 25 home runs. I mean, he was good. He had a good year this year. Whether you love him or hate him. And that's why I hate sometimes when these Met fans are saying the core is rotten. The core needs to be broken up. Then you're pissed at this year. If you break up Brandon Nimmo, Lindor, Salicata saying Francisco Lindor should be traded. Oh my God. Find me another shortstop that's going to go 30-30. Basically 3 years in a row. Last year was a stolen base away from going 30-30. So he's basically locked in to go 30-30 almost every year. You want that guy gone? Out of your freaking mind, Salicata. Out of your freaking mind. Either that's just him trying to get views and clicks on his show, where he's actually dumb as bricks. Like he's either dumb and doesn't deserve to talk about sports, or he is just trying to get views. There's no other in between. Lindor is going to be a part of this team no matter what. And he should. Pete Alonso should be a part of this team. Brandon Nimmo should be a part of this team. There's guys I want gone. Jeff McNeil, bye-bye. Mark Vientos, bye-bye. Mark Vientos, let's talk about Mark Vientos. Going into the year, I mean, it was Pete Alonso, Juan Soto, Francisco Lindor that we were all excited about, but we were also excited about Mark Vientos. After what he did in the postseason, having a 999 OPS in the postseason last year, the Grand Slam last year. Oh, it was personal when they intentionally walked to get to him. He took it personal and he mashed a Grand Slam. This year, Mark Vientos straight up sucked. He had a good, 2-3 weeks, and that's it. And we all thought he was back, but he wasn't. And not only was he a terrible bat in the offense, he was probably one of the worst defenders I have ever seen in my entire life. One of the worst. So bad that even when Brett Beatty got hurt with 3 games to go, instead of putting Mark Vientos at third base like we all thought would happen, Mendoza went to Ronnie Mauricio, who barely played in the second half of the year. I mean, after the trade deadline, I think I can count on my hands how many times Ronnie Mauricio got in that bat. That's how bad it's gotten with Mark Vientos, where I don't think he's going to be a part of this team. Whatever you can get for him, because I am done with Mark Vientos. I am done with Jeff McNeil. So those guys, long gone, should be undoubtedly gone. Because Brett Beatty is the third baseman next year. Lock him in. Brett Beatty actually had a great year. I mean, you look at Beatty's numbers. Overall, but specifically after he got recalled, I mean, he was great. The guy hit 18 home runs this year. If you told anybody that he would finished a year with 18 home runs over a 750 OPS, what was his batting average? Brett Beatty finished the year 254 batting average, 748 OPS, 18 home runs, 50 RBIs in 130 games. I mean, if he played every single game, he would have hit 25 home runs. Only struck out 108 times in 130 games. Brett Beatty earned the job for next year. And he hits left-handers now, which is fantastic. But Brett Beatty, I think he got called back up in May. So let's just go Brett Beatty's stats since May 1st. And also Francisco Alvarez, when he got recalled, he was phenomenal. Brett Beatty had 17 home runs since May 1st. A 263 batting average. And an OPS of 772. If this is who he is, and being a great defender, I mean, that's what, a 20-plus home run guy. If he can get over a 750 OPS and play great defense, that's a very valuable third baseman. And I'm sure we would all take that over Mark Vientos, who's basically hit or miss. Francisco Alvarez probably had his best year, and he did it with maybe half a hand. He's getting surgery now, and I felt bad for him. Really, the fact that he played through the injuries while catching 90-plus mile-per-hour fastballs, insane. The guy finished with a 799 OPS, a 260 batting average. His strikeout rate dropped dramatically this year. I mean, this is a guy last year in 2024, he struck out 86 times in 100 games. 2023, struck out 110 times in 123 games. This year, 73 times in 76 games. Still a lot of strikeouts, but the batting average went up. Finished with a 799 OPS and a 260 batting average. I think we'd all take that. And Francisco Alvarez, since July, was just on a rampage. Since July 1st, Francisco Alvarez had a batting average of 276, had 8 homers with an OPS of 921. I mean, he's only 23 years old, too, which is the most exciting part. If Alvarez starts to figure it out, I mean, and you bring back Pete, I think you have to bring back Pete for this to work next year. Soto, Lindor, Alonso, Nimmo, Alvarez, Beatty. Those are 6 guys that can produce. Now you need to fill the center field role. You need to fill the second base role if we want to get rid of Jeff McNeil. And we got to get a DH. I like the idea of DH and Alonso a little bit more if we re-sign him, and I think that's what they're going to do. So then you got to find a defensive first baseman, preferably a left-handed bat. So then when you play a lefty, have Alonso play first and take that left-handed bat out of the lineup. But, obviously right-handers dominate MLB. There's just more right-handers. So then you can use that lefty bat that's defense first. And you still get Alonso's bat in the lineup. Because Alonso's bat is valuable. I don't care what anybody says. Pete Alonso's bat is undoubtedly valuable. I mean, let's just go over his numbers. Because they have to bring him back. Let's get into why they just have to bring Pete Alonso back. So this is a guy this year, 38 homers, led the MLB in doubles, over an 870 OPS. But more specifically, his entire career. Like I said before, he only had 1 year with an OPS below 800 with runners in scoring position, and that was 2024. And he basically made everybody forget about it with his memorable postseason. But this is a guy. He's recorded at least 118 RBIs in 4 out of his full six full seasons. Since he debuted, he has the 3rd most home runs, only behind Kyle Schwarber and Aaron Judge. 712 RBIs since 2019, most in MLB across that stretch. This year, with runners in scoring position, he had 309 and posted a 1.021 OPS. Over an 823 OPS with runners in scoring position in 6 out of his 7 seasons. Obviously saved the Mets in 2024, saved the Mets really this year because they probably would have been sub 500 without him. But he's a run producer. That's what he is. Pete Alonso is a run producer, an elite level run producer. And I don't care what anybody says. Oh, the core is rotten. Pete Alonso is beloved in that clubhouse. Nobody hates him. I think what is rotten is Jeff McNeil. I think what is rotten is Mark Vientos. I think what is rotten is the fact that Luis Angel Acuna had to get some start in the starting lineup because of how bad McNeil was playing down the stretch, how bad Vientos played down the stretch. Like Carlos Mendoza was running out of options. And anybody who wants Carlos Mendoza fired, I understand where you're coming from, but at the same time, Mendoza, I think, is still a good manager. I think he overmanaged game 162. I wish he left in Sean Manaea, who I was just talking crap about earlier, in a little bit longer. But, I mean, you can't pull a guy that early. He had a free pass open at first base, walks the Marlin batter, and then he gets pulled. He had a 1-2-3 inning in the first inning. I mean, we could have gotten some length out of him and then went to a Brooks Raley or an Edwin Diaz that early. Even a Ryan Helsley, who actually looked good down the stretch this year. But Pete Alonso has to come back. Undoubtedly has to come back. If I see him playing in another uniform, I don't think I'm ever going to be able to forgive David Stearns. And that's not just because he's Pete Alonso and he's a polar bear, but it's because he's a 5-time All-Star. It's because he's a guy who you can lock in to hit 35-plus homers and drive in over 100 runs. You can lock that in. And I think he turned a corner. Because he started off the year red hot, kind of slowed down a little bit for a few weeks, and then picked it right back up. He had a slump, but picked it right back up after. I mean, he led the team in batting average, led the team in RBIs, led the MLB in doubles. He was a versatile offensive bat this year. I mean, the guy had 41 doubles, almost went 40-40 with doubles and homers. And then the strikeout rate. He played 161 games this year, struck out 162 times. Last year in 162, he struck out 172 times. Only 10 less strikeouts, but it made a huge difference. His on-base percentage was 329 last year. The only time he ever had a higher on-base percentage was 2022. Had a 352 on-base percentage. Had a 271 batting average in 22 with an 870 OPS. This year, had an 871 OPS, 347 on-base percentage, hit 272, but obviously hit a lot more doubles. He still had a lot of doubles last year, at 31 doubles. But they were empty stats. I mean, this is a guy you can lock in to have an 800 OPS every single year. Every single year. You don't let a guy like that walk. And he's only 30. Pete Alonso's 30 years old. He's going to be 31 going into next year. You give that guy a 3, 4, 5-year deal, whatever it takes. You want to make him the DH? I don't care. They need Pete Alonso's bat in that lineup in 2026 if they want to have success. Because who are the other options also in free agency? Let's be realistic. Who are the other options? Josh Naylor? Josh Naylor or Pete Alonso? Take your pick. I think everybody would say they'd rather Pete Alonso. Because let's look at Josh Naylor's stats. He had a good year, but he wasn't Pete Alonso. Josh Naylor this year hit 295, had 20 home runs, but only an 815 OPS, only drove in 92 runs compared to his 126. He had 29 doubles compared to Alonso's 42. You'd rather have Pete Alonso. And if you say anything else, you're lying to yourself. Because Josh Naylor, I mean, his career high in home runs is 31. He's only hit over 30 homers once in his career. Pete Alonso has done it he has done it every single year. Pete Alonso has never had a year where he had less than 30 home runs. That's a guy you keep. And same thing with Edwin Diaz. Edwin Diaz, I mean, this year, since May 1st, this is an insane stat. Since May 1st, Edwin Diaz posted a .99 ERA. 0.99, a sub-1 ERA since May 1st. That is insane. And he is the best closer, I think, in Mets franchise history. And I didn't get a chance to watch John Franco. I got a chance to see Billy Wagner. But Billy Wagner, I can't even really include because Edwin Diaz is that much better. So is John Franco. But he's undoubtedly, I think, the best closer the Mets have ever had. And he's a guy you cannot let walk. Edwin Diaz, when you find a closer that is that good, I mean, he's probably the most elite closer I've seen since Mariano Rivera. He's not Mariano Rivera, but he's up there. He is up there because he's got balls. He doesn't fold under pressure. If he ever has a blown save, it's not because the moment was too big. It's because his command was off or he let up an unlucky hit. It's never because he folds under pressure. And that's what's so good about Edwin Diaz. When you find a guy like that, you have to keep him. Like I said, after May 1st, he had a 0.99 ERA in 50 appearances. He's the team MVP. Think about this. Edwin Diaz, in the last 3 years he's played, 2022, 2024, 2025. Who was the MVP in 2022? A lot of people would say Edwin Diaz. The guy was ridiculous. He only let up like 9 earned runs that year. 2023. I mean, it took a little bit because he missed 2024 took a little bit for him to get going because he missed the entire 2023 season. But down the stretch, he was lights out. He was the only guy we wanted to see come out of the bullpen. And in 2025, I mean, I just said it since May 1st, that 0.99 ERA is just unthinkable. And he's a top 2, top 3 closer, if not the best closer in baseball. He's only pitched to over a 4 ERA in his career once. So you can bank him in to have a sub 3.5 ERA at worst. At worst. But at best, which he's usually at best, he's going to give you this. He's pitched to a sub 2 ERA 4 times. 4 times in his 9-year career. So basically a little under 50%, but he's usually a top 2, top 3 reliever in baseball for 50% of his career. And the years he wasn't, he had, last year, 3.5, 1 year, sub 3, and he had 2 sub 3 years, 4 sub 2 years, 8 sub 4 years out of 9. That 1 year was that first year in New York. But since then, Edwin Diaz has been probably the best closer in baseball since 2020, consistently. And like I said, he doesn't fold under pressure. You just don't let a guy like that slip away. Now, some other offseason moves I'd like to see the Mets make. I'd like to see them go after Bo Bichette. I think Bo Bichette would be a great option to replace Jeff McNeil. Bo Bichette will be a free agent this year. I'm not sure how much money he will get. I'm sure he will get a ton of offers. He's a great player with a ton of range. He does have a knee injury right now, and we don't even know if he's going to be in the playoffs. Definitely wouldn't have been available in the wild card round. We're going to see if he's going to be available, but he's had a great year. He had 311 this year, had an 840 OPS, 18 home runs in 139 games. Bo Bichette's a dog. Imagine having him up the middle with Francisco Lindor. This is a guy, last year was a down year, but a lot of it due to injury. 2023, 814 OPS, 306 batting average, 20 home runs. 2022, 24 home runs, 290 batting average, 802 OPS. He's had an 800 OPS or higher since 2019, every year but one. Every year but one, and that was last year when he was hurt. And he's going to be turning 28 next year. 28 years old. You can get, I think it would only take like a 4 or 5 year deal at most. I'd rather a Bo Bichette over an Alex Bregman. Because 1, he's younger. 2, you could still put Brett Beatty at third, Bo Bichette at second, bring back Pete, DH, first base, whatever you want to do with him. I would love to have Bo Bichette. So that's one target I could like, but we're going to do more off-season analysis later on, specifically after the postseason wraps up. But I would love Bo Bichette on the Mets in 2026. And since I did an offensive player, I'm going to do a pitcher. Pitcher was hard to come up with, I'm not going to lie. Because there's not a lot of marquee names in this free agency class. You have Dylan Cease, you have Michael King. Chris Sale has an option, I believe, with the club, so he'll probably not be a free agent. You'd probably have to trade for a starting pitcher. And honestly, I'm not willing to trade for any starting pitcher. But when I look at this rotation, I only like 3 guys right now, maybe 4, with Brandon Sproat being that maybe 4. I like David Peterson going into next year only because I think he fell apart due to fatigue. David Peterson has never pitched the amount of innings he's pitched this year. He was great. He was an all-star. He, for a full year stretch from 2024, he pitched to a sub-3 ERA. He finished the year with a 9-6 record, 30 starts, a 4.22 ERA, but it doesn't write the whole story on his entire year because he really fell apart in that second half. Really the second half of the second half, but 168 innings he pitched this year. He pitched 121 last year, 111 in 23, 105 in 22. So he pitched more innings than he ever has in his entire career. But I can't ignore what he did in 24. I can't ignore what he did really up until August of 2025. He was an ace. Maybe not an ace, but he was our ace. Kodai Senga, I think the Mets are done with him, and that's unfortunate because I loved Kodai Senga. But it sounds like the Mets are done with him. If you didn't hear David Stern's comments on Kodai Senga, I'm sure you can find it very easily. But he basically said that it'd be foolish for him to lock Kodai Senga in next year for 30 starts, which basically sounds like he is done with Kodai Senga. The Mets are done with Senga. But next year's rotation, you can lock in Nolan McLean, undoubtedly. You can lock in Clay Holmes, who Clay Holmes had a fantastic year. Clay Holmes, his first year as a starter, finished it up with his best start at the end, going 6 innings, getting the win, only allowing 1 hit, only struck out 2 guys, but that was the Clay Holmes we all wanted to see. He's not a guy who's going to strike out a lot of guys. He's going to pitch to contact, and that's what he did really all year. I mean, if anybody told you when the Mets signed Clay Holmes as a starter, hey, about 6 months, 7 months down the line when they signed him, he's going to have a 12-8 record. He's going to start 31 games, appear in 33 2 times out of the pen, but he's going to pitch to a 3.53 ERA, which was 9th in MLB this year. I think everybody would take that. Everybody would take that. But if he's your back end of the rotation guy, I think everybody would take that, especially next year. Lock Clay Holmes in for the rotation. Lock Noah McLean in. I'm hesitant to say lock David Peterson in, but I think he's going to get the cut. I still think the Mets trust him. I think they all know it was because of fatigue. Obviously, I have a plan B to David Peterson, but lock him. I would say lock him in. Or at least write him in. Don't lock him in, but write him in. Brandon Sproat, I don't know. Brandon Sproat showed flashes. Brandon Sproat had a great start to his final performance of the year. He had 4 really good innings and just fell apart. I think he let up 3 hits on 4 pitches. Like, Sproat was looking good. I mean, the one game where he let up, I think it was 4 earned runs. That was really an error on Jose Siri. But, I mean, one start against Texas, 6 innings, no runs allowed. 6 innings in his first start against Cincinnati, only 3 runs on 3 hits. I mean, those first two starts were really good. Even that third one was really good until Jose Siri just crapped the bed for him. So really only one bad start by Brandon Sproat, and I think the Mets took him out a little bit too early. But nevertheless, I think Sproat should get a rotation spot next year. So that's 4 guys right there. You just need to find a 5th, and that 5th needs to be undoubtedly reliable. Because I don't think Chaminade is a strong lock for the rotation. If he is going to be part of a 6-man rotation, it's got to be. But they can't use 40-plus different pitchers again like they did. That's not a playoff team. When you're making roster moves on the last day of the year, that's not a playoff team. Playoff teams have their rosters set basically in the last 2 weeks of the year. Only making moves if it's necessary for an injury or anything like that. You can't have 40-plus different pitchers and expect to make the playoffs. It was weird. No consistency. And then the fact that Ryan Stanek had the most appearances out of any Met is just insane. Insane. All right, I'm done with the Mets. Let's talk about a playoff team. Steven, no. Thank you for the input, but no. Brett Beatty's he has turned such a corner where the Mets, I don't think, are even going to consider trading him. Because he is he played as an above league average bat, was a great defender. You don't get rid of a guy like that, especially considering he's always had that potential in him. I mean, look, the Yankees just traded for Ryan McMahon. Brett Beatty was light years better than Ryan McMahon this year. He is an MLB third baseman. I don't mind trading for Sandy Alcantara or Sandy Alcantara, but I would not include Brett Beatty for him. I would say, maybe a Brandon Sproat for Sandy Alcantara. Throw in another shoestring prospect. Maybe a package of like Jeff McNeil. Include Jeff McNeil to get rid of him. Give him to the Marlins. Throw in a few prospects. I'm not giving Mark Vientos. You could trade Mark Vientos and Ronnie Mauricio. Like, you could trade Luis Angel Acuna. But Brett Beatty, man, after the year he had over a 770 OPS after he got recalled. Like, he finished the year with 18 home runs. 18 home runs. 17 of them came after May. You can't trade a guy like that. Especially with the fact that he plays an elite level defense at third base. Like, that matters. That does matter. Mark Vientos has lost his games with his defense. But yeah, I'm done with the Mets. Let's talk about the Yankees. Red Sox. That is That's going to be a fun one. I think the Yankees are going to win this series. I think they might drop. Game one is going to be, I think, when I find out who wins this series, because it is all hands on deck for both. I mean, tomorrow night, 6 o'clock, you got Fried, Garrett Crochet. This, I think, is going to be the most anticipated game one for a Yankees postseason in a long, 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 long time. I mean, one, you're going up against the Boston Red Sox. Two, you got your ace and Max Fried on the mound, the guy they just gave an 8-year deal to, who had a phenomenal year. He had 19 wins, went 19-5, a 2.86 ERA. This is going to be the most anticipated game one in the Yankees playoffs in a long, long time. You got Aaron Judge, all the talk about Aaron Judge versus Cal Riley in the MVP conversation. I don't think you can win an MVP in the postseason. It never has been done. But I think Aaron Judge can silence the doubters who say Cal Riley should be the MVP by finally showing up in the postseason. You have Giancarlo Stanton, who we all know just turns into Barry Bonds in the postseason. And then obviously, like I said before, you got Fried versus Garrett Crochet. Red Sox, Yankees, probably the most historic rivalry of all time. Not just, I would say, in baseball. I think this rivalry is one of the most historic, rich rivalries of all time in all professional sports. Red Sox, I mean, you got Lakers, Celtics, yes, but that's not really even a rivalry anymore. Yankees, Red Sox, this rivalry is going to heat back up. It heated back up this year, but I mean, for sure, it is back on. It is back on. The Yankees haven't had too much success against the Red Sox this year. They were 4-9 against the Red Sox this year, and the Red Sox fans have owned the Yankees fans all online, all on sports talk radio, blah, 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 blah. We're 9-4 against you, but they can erase all that by going out there and winning. But what scares me is that game one. What scares me, like if this was a 5-7 game series, I'm taking the Yankees. I think the Yankees have the depth. I think they have the starting pitching to go on and beat really any team in the American League in a 5-7 game, 5-7 game series. But this is a 3-game series. This is completely different. Completely different. So when you have the AL Cy Young candidate in Garrett Crochet going up against Max Fried, you need Max Fried to show up. I'm not saying he's not going to show up, but there have been starts where Max Fried has just completely exploded. But for the most part, Max Fried has been an ace. He's been one of the best pitchers in baseball. You need Max Fried to not just be Max Fried. You need him to take a step forward this game because he's facing Garrett Crochet. It is going to be a heck of a game, but I think we find out who wins this series in game one. Because game two, if the Yankees win game one, they're winning the series. No doubt about it. In game two, it's going to be Carlos Rodon versus Brian Bello. Brian Bello, he pitched great this year, 11-9 with a 3.35 ERA, but Carlos Rodon was on fire this year at 203 strikeouts over 195 innings, went 18-9, 3.09 ERA. He had not only one of his best years with the Yankees, but I think his best year overall. I mean, the guy pitched more innings than he ever did in his entire career, 195 innings, career high by far. His ERA, his career best ERA was in 2021 when he pitched to a 2.37 ERA, but that was across 132 innings. 2022, 2.88 ERA, but that was across 178 innings, still a lot, but not 195 with 18 wins to add to it. It's Rodon's best year. They win game one, they're winning the series because they are going to win or should win game two. And then game three, Cam Schlittler. You got Cam Schlittler lined up. The Red Sox don't have anybody lined up, but they need to win game one to win this series. And that's what scares me is just Garrett Crochet. But the Yankees should win this series. But I'm not going to say they're locks. But that's only because it's a 3-game series. Like I said, a 5-7 game series. And that's why I think it was so vital for them to win the division is because anything can happen in the wild card round. Anything. I mean, we saw it just last year with the Mets. Nobody expected them to get past the Brewers on the road, especially down 2 runs in the top of the 9th inning. And then Pete Alonso just saved him. And then they proved in a 5-game series against the Phillies that they were the better team. But this is completely different. This is the wild card round. I think the Yankees are the best team in the American League. I think if they get past this round, I think they will go to the World Series and potentially win it. Because they got the pitching to do it this year. They do. They have a lineup that is stronger than it was last year. I mean, Jazz Chisholm had a hell of a year. Jazz Chisholm hit 31 homers, 815 OPS. Cody Bellinger, who's been red hot really all year long. Cody Bellinger had a fantastic year, 815 OPS, 29 homers, 98 RBIs, 272 batting average. You had Trent Grisham, who had a fantastic year, went over 30 home runs for the first time in his career. Ben Rice has been swinging the bat very well all year long, 253 batting average, 822 OPS, 24 homers. Obviously, Aaron Judge, 50 homers, leading the league in batting average, not just AL, MLB. What was his on-base percentage? His final on-base percentage this year? 458 on-base percentage, which is insane to get on base 46% of the time. That's something unthinkable. And people want to say Cal Raleigh's the MVP. Get the hell out of here. Cal Raleigh. Just because he hits home runs. And then what was it Mark DeRosa said? I don't want him to hit for a high batting average because I don't want him to clog up the bases. Get the hell out of here. Aaron Judge is the MVP. And then Stanton. Stanton, who had his best year as a Yankee, I think, when he only played 76 games. He had a 946 OPS, 24 homers in those 76 games. I mean, he was almost unstoppable. I mean, he struck out a lot, 96 times, 95 times in 76 games. That's a lot of strikeouts. But still, this is a team that strikes out a lot but can put up a lot of runs because they can hit a lot of home runs. I mean, what they hit, I think it was 9 or 10, maybe even 11 home runs in one game in like the third or fourth game of the year. But they got to put runs up against Garrett Crochet because if they lose that game one, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough because the Red Sox have owned them all year. Yankees are 4-9 against the Red Sox. Like I said, this is going to be their toughest postseason matchup, I think, in a long, long time. And that's why it's also the most anticipated one, not just because it's the Red Sox, but also because they've struggled against them all year because they're going up against Garrett Crochet, who is a lights out, no doubt about it, ace. Probably a top 3 pitcher in MLB. Like it's Skeens, it's Scooble, and it's Crochet. Those are your top 3 pitchers. Right there. That's top 3 pitchers in MLB. You're facing a top 3 pitcher in MLB. Luckily, the Yankees also have a top 5, definitely top 10, but definitely, I would say this year, a top 5 pitcher in Max Fried this year. So we'll see. And Carlos Rodon has had a great year too. And Cam Schlittler, I mean, really, after his first few starts, he looks like a beast. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. I would talk football today, but it's late. It's late, and I really don't want to talk about the Mets mess and the Jets mess. So what I'll end on football today is Jackson Dart. You might have just saved Brian Daboll's ass. And the Jets continue to be miserable. That's really all I need to say. All right, that's it. Overall prediction, I think the Yankees win the series 2-1. I think they drop game 1 against Garrett Crochet, and I think Rodon and Cam Schlittler, get them back up. I think they get them back up. But now let's go over overall postseason predictions because the wild card round starts tomorrow. You got game 1s tomorrow and Wednesday. It's going to be fun. So game 1 wild card round, we got all 4 wild card matchups. Tigers, Guardians. Who wins that series? The fact that the Tigers still slipped in is just shocking. I can't believe they blew the AL Central. But, I mean, how can you not go with the Guardians? The Guardians have been red hot. They were the better team down the stretch. Tigers, I mean, you're going to have Scooble going on the mound, so I'm going to take them to win game 1. And it's just so tough because the Guardians are the better team. But I always like saying in the wild card rounds, whoever wins game 1 wins the series. So I think I'm going to go actually the Tigers in this series because they got Scooble going game 1. Padres, Cubs. Padres 90-72. Cubs 92-70. Both great years. Padres, they just unfortunately play in the same division as the LA Dodgers. Cubs, same thing. Unfortunately, this year they played in the same division as the Milwaukee Brewers. You got Nick Pivetta, who had a fantastic year, 2.87 ERA, 13-5 across 31 starts versus Matthew Boyd, who pitched with 3.21 ERA. I got to go with the Padres here. Even though they're on the road, I still see the Padres winning this game and winning the series because, like I said, whoever wins game one for me wins the series. That's how it works in the wild card round usually. So I'm going to go with the Padres only because I think their lineup is just a little bit better. I mean, Pete Crow Armstrong has really cooled down since his ridiculous first 2 months. I mean, they just got so many good guys on this Padres team. You got Manny Machado, who had a down year but still hit 26 bombs. You have Fernando Tatis, who had a real big bounce back year. He hit 25 home runs, had an 813 OPS. Xander Bogaerts' defense at shortstop. Ryan O'Hearn was a fantastic trade for them. I mean, O'Hearn, he really hasn't been the player he was when he was with the Orioles in the first half of the year, but he's still a good bat. He's still at 276 with the Padres in 50 games. Home runs, you'd like to see that increase, but he's still a good bat. Gavin Sheets, another great hitter in that lineup. I mean, they're just so lengthy. Jackson Merrill didn't have the best year after being very hyped up last year at 826 OPS last year, 24 home runs, but he's still Jackson Merrill. The Cubs, on the other hand, they still have a very good lineup too. So this one's a toss-up for me. I mean, Seiya Suzuki can hit, but like I said, PCA has really struggled. Dansby Swanson, I don't really view him as a top bat. He's a great defender, not a top bat. Kyle Tucker has been so on and off this season. He's really had a weird year. I remember people said he was better than Juan Soto, which is insane. But go ahead, Brandon Tierney, and say that he's better all you want. But yeah, that's a toss-up for me. Red Sox, Yankees, already predicted the Yankees. I think they lose game one, though. I think Max Fried pitches a gem, but I think Garrett Crochet just pitches even better. Dodgers, Reds, I mean, bro. It would be so Mets if the Reds win this series against the Dodgers. It would be so Mets. So I'm going to pick the Reds because I think this is just a year of not only whoever wins the World Series, but I think this is the year of the LOL Mets. I'll say right there. And it would be so LOL Mets if the Reds somehow cap off a first-round victory over the LA Dodgers. Something that we all dreamed. Let's just sneak in. Let's just get in and beat the Dodgers. I mean, I think the Dodgers are going to win, and I think they should win, but I'm picking the Reds. I'm picking the Reds. How can I not? How can I not? All right, that's it for me. No football today. Good luck, Yankee fans, tomorrow. Good luck. You'll need it. Garrett Crochet's dominant. Red Sox are a good team. But like I said, I think they're going to be the only team to lose game one in this playoff series, in this wild card round specifically, and still somehow win the series just because they got Carlos Rodon. All right, that's it for me, guys. Thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. Probably see you guys later this week. Deuces.